Okay. Okay.
Yep. Oh, got my morning coffee going. Got a little electric guitar playing in the background for us. It's another wonderful day here at the Crypto the WonderDog show. Boy, it's been a heck of a night, but this morning we woke up to a little bit of green, didn't we, Charlie?
Well, yeah. Well, it depends on which side of the ledger you're looking at, buddy. I'm sorry, but if you look at commodities, they're getting absolutely destroyed. And the Dow is beginning to show. You had a guest last night, and I want to thank you and Rob for doing a really good show. And that was Jeremy Knox, and he was talking about his new invention and his new work. But a lot of the stuff that he's talking about is predicated. He was talking about Elliott wave analysis, Bollinger Bands, which is technical analysis. And that's great when you have orderly, rational markets. But right now, you don't have anything that's rational at all.
Can't
In
make
fact, the markets,
heads or tails of it. Heads or tails of a crypto coin, can you?
Pardon me?
You can't make heads or tails of a crypto coin of it, can you?
No. What I'm saying is, the financial markets, not forget cryptos. Cryptos are growing green right now, at least the Bitcoin futures. The financial markets have gone psychotic. So at this point, I couldn't possibly think that technical analysis or Elliott wave is going to be able to work. Jeremy's stuff will work once the markets calm down and show some rationality. But at this point, everything's up in the air, buddy.
Yep.
Sorry.
Sure the heck is. And so you made a statement a couple of days ago, and we were talking, and you ran into a guy who tackled you on the street and beat you up and said you're an idiot. No, he just brought something to your attention that may or may not be true. So we welcome Dylan Sherry to the show. Whiz Mathematician. Charlie, go ahead and tell us all about Dylan.
Well, Dylan is a listener, and like we tell all our other listeners, please call in, and because you probably have something to say. Well, Dylan certainly did. He took issue with with one of our podcasts, or one of my statements in the podcast, where I said that the algorithms that run computers, that the algorithms and the computers that run crypto coin currencies are the same kind of things that run the stock market. Well, they're not. They're not the same thing. And that wasn't my intent to say it, but it doesn't matter what I intended to say. What it came out was, or how it proceeded out of my mouth was, it sounded exactly what Dylan said, that the same thing. So he pointed it out. He's very eloquent, very knowledgeable, and we were able to, he was, kind enough to come in and talk to us and set me straight. So, Dylan, can you go and tell me what I did wrong and what I said wrong, or how I was confused about a couple of things?
Well, I just, for one, algorithms are just mathematical sequences, and in and of themselves, they're quite inert, and I don't think you can. People may have a certain fear about them because they seem complex, but in and of themselves, they are everywhere. They run everything around us, and we should not have any fear associated with them. When you fly, when you drive your car, just about anything, you're using algorithms. So the fact that Bitcoin uses them should make no difference to how people perceive Bitcoin, crypto, or anything else, even the market.
But can I say, would it be accurate to say that the same kind of technology that's affecting the stock market or any of these markets, financial markets, other than the bond market, by the way, bond market doesn't use computers. That's kind of why they've been more steady and stable the last few trading sessions. But is it possible to say that there is a connection between cryptocurrency and the stock market in terms of some of the theory or some of the concepts that guide both of them?
I would say no, because crypto, or the initial concept behind Bitcoin, is that of a hard currency with no issuing authority behind it. So it's a break away from all the fiat currencies that we have currently.
But
it uses algorithms as part of its mechanism to mimic the mining of gold. So it uses algorithms as part of its function, but its initial core concept is something quite divorced from what drives the stock market.
Yeah. One of the things you pointed out to me was that when you take a look at an algorithm, or like, for instance, when you take a look at the type of mathematics that controls it, let's say, for instance, an airplane, they're able to calibrate, changes that they see as they're, going along. And, they do that in an orderly way, but you're not going to see a plane plunge, in an instant 10,000 feet into the ocean just because the algorithm or the math was wrong. Otherwise, it'd all be be seeing crashes of airplanes in the mountains every other day. But obviously, something is going on. It's either the math is wrong, or something has been put into the computer that creates this kind of turbulence. Because how do we explain an almost instantaneous 1,200 point drop in the Dow a couple of days ago?
Yeah, it's quite possible that, an airplane deals with parameters that are very repeatable and solid and predictable, and it's possible that the market is not such an entity and cannot be dealt with as such. That's one possibility. The other possibility is that the algorithms are being used to control the market, and they can be used for those means as well.
Yeah, some of the things, like Dean and I were talking a couple of days ago about the fact that about corrections. And if you have supposedly, that everybody is strong, at least at the time, and you and I, you made the point about the stock analyst Kramer, or not the Seinfeld Kramer, but Jim Kramer on CNBC, pretty much screaming corrections, just a correction. And what's the name of your son? Correction. That's all he was basically saying. But if you have a stock market that's basically driven by a computer and by computers and by these mathematical formulas, we shouldn't be having these kinds of corrections. That should have been factored out. And that's why I'm bringing up the thing fear. If you read a lot of the stuff, and that's what I sent you, a lot of articles to you, Dean, about fear, that right now it's a fear-driven market. Well, wait a minute. Wait. You can't have it both ways. You can't have a stock market that's run by robots and computers and then have fear. I don't know of a microprocessor, the fear microprocessor that's put in a computer. I mean, how does a computer supposedly sense fear and is able to deal with that sentiment or that feeling? None of these things make any sense, because the analysis that we're reading or we're seeing, at least in the mainstream media, is dealing with a market that doesn't exist anymore. Once you have a computer-driven economy or computer-driven market, all those human sentiments are gone. They should be taken away. That's why I was talking to you, Dean, earlier about Elliott wave and Bollinger Bands and that kind of analysis. All that stuff was created years ago, almost 50, 60, 70 years ago, long before computers were even, in their infancy. So the analysis that we keep seeing doesn't make any sense. The things that we are told that the market is doing or how it's reacting is based on a thinking and a mechanics that just don't exist anymore.
Well, this is what you're talking about, Jim Cramer. Jim Cramer blames a group of complete morons for blowing up the market. This is on a website called MarketWatch.com by a guy named Sean Langlis, something with an L. Jim Cramer's NBC Mad Money host and resident booyah button pusher isn't exactly known for measured takes on the stock market. And Thursday morning with the Dow Jones Industrial Average (DJA) 1.38 in full retreat was certainly no different. Here's what irking him about it all. What bothers me is the people who have never looked at a stock and don't know how to analyze it are out in full force today. They've never been better about not knowing anything about the stocks. They've got it all figured out. So yeah, he's exactly what you said. A bunch of morons.
Yeah, it's a bunch of more. Well, wait a minute. Whoa. You can't have it both ways. You can't have a computer-driven stock market run by algorithms, but then the smartest guys in the world that created these supposedly mechanical, mathematical attempts to create the market, and then say that it's a bunch of morons. So if it's a bunch of morons, then why are we trusting them with anything? But by the way, like I told you earlier, the bond market has been stable through all this. The bond market is huge. It's much bigger than the stock market. And they're not computer driven. So
really?
You can't blame people. Okay. Yeah, it's not. It's not driven. You know how most transactions take place? Human to human. They call each other and say, hey, Bert, can you move this? Whatever they have to do. But it's done through human contact. So we've given over these markets, one of the most important, the stock market specifically, over the machines, and then we're claiming that it's a bunch of morons. Well, no, it doesn't work that way. It's when I read this, when I saw this, and I thought to myself, what are we talking about here? What are we saying? It kind of reminds me of that. Remember the movie Office Space? With that Indian guy, he asks when they're about ready to, whatever they were going to take off on their plan, and something about going to prison and conjugal rights, and he says, "What is this conjugal rights thing?" And it's like I was thinking, like, well, what is this field thing? Can you explain this field thing? It doesn't make any sense, And so I'm stuck there. I'm just sitting there thinking, you know what? I can't trust any of these guys. I'm going to just go to fundamental analysis as best I can and talk to guys like you and Dylan that bring some sanity to this whole thing.
Well, don't talk to me. I'm right there with you going, what is all this shit? Where's my conjugal visit? Anyway, yeah. So, robots.
Let me ask you something.
Yeah.
It seems to have an effect because the guys I talk to are always repeating and regurgitating whatever he says. So he's very effective, even if it is, nonsense.
Yeah.
Now, Dylan, I think you become more of an agnostic towards. Take us through your journey into cryptos, because you began to see this a couple of some time back. How long ago did you become interested in the cryptos, and what did you come to understand about?
Basically, I was attracted to the concept, the core concept, which probably sounds pretty boring, but it's back in 2009 or 10 when it first came out. Bitcoin, it's an idea of a hard currency. It has no issuing authority behind it. And so it takes out any government tinkering. It's apolitical. It's an international medium of exchange. And it's basically untamperable. And in a way, it mimics a gold-backed currency without the issues relating to the gold itself, so that's initially what attracted me to Bitcoin. There are basically three levels to it. The first one is the concept, which I've just described. The second one is the actual mechanics of it, the algorithms that go through the motions of mining the coins. And the third level is the interaction with the rest of the currencies. And sometimes, most of the time when cryptos are spoken about, they're these three areas are sort of muddied and confused, and either deliberately or accidentally, I don't know, but there really should be well separated. The cryptocurrency concept itself, then there's the core Bitcoin technology, and then there's the third element, which is the entities that interface so that people can speculate and so on.
Well, Dean came up with did an analysis or did a podcast about 2 days ago where he talked about how they were trying to separate cryptocurrencies into two things. There's the tokens that actually you use just to buy within, I guess they're going to be used as a medium of exchange, just to buy stuff. And then there's the other type of crypto, or the other side of the cryptos, which is used to speculate or as an investment. And I guess they're trying to make those distinctions. And one of the things that one of the articles that Dean sent me was that the SEC, Securities and Exchange Commission, is now looking into whether or not cryptos are supposed to be regulated as an actual, like a stock or some kind of an investment vehicle. And a lot of the people who are promoting cryptos are saying, well, you can't do that. They're not that. We are not supposed to be. But the SEC is saying, well, you may say that, but that's the way it works, and they need to be regulated. Do you feel that at this point, one of the elements of cryptocurrencies, or Bitcoin specifically, is going to be eliminated if the SEC comes in? What's your opinion, or what do you think about that?
Well, I think because in its core concept, cryptocurrencies basically bypass governments and bypass banks and cannot be controlled. And that, immediately stokes fear in both of those institutions. And I think they will do whatever they can, however they can, to dilute or, bring down the cryptos, or devalue them in some way, even in the perception of the public, whether that be, taxation or regulation or whatever. I think they're going to just do whatever they can to sort of muddy that distinction so that people don't realize that they've been cut off.
Well, the interesting thing is, like I said, I'm a novice in this. You and Dean are far more aware of this. It's the structure of this show is to
don't give me too much credit on this. Don't give me too much credit. I just know enough to lose a bunch of money in the last couple of months.
Well, but the thing is, you were the one who brought me into it, and at least in terms of telling me, you better look at this.
Yeah,
which is true.
I thought it was, hey, this is, I can't believe that I didn't hear about it. I mean, I heard about it when it first started, but I'm, like everyone else, I'm sick into my stomach that I didn't go in when it was, looking at it right here. It was at the beginning. I just pulled this up on Wikipedia. When it started, January 2009 to March 2010, it was basically worth not anything. Wasn't worth anything. And in March 2010, it was worth 0.003 cents. And in May of 2010, it was worth less than 1 cent. And fast forward to its high, December 15th at $17,900.
Wow.
If you could only just go back in time.
Well, I'm sitting here looking at the same thing too, because Dylan, just to let you know, one of the reasons we put this thing together, this channel together, and we're asking you to come in from time, whenever you feel like it, to give us more update, because you bring a real ray of sunshine in terms of the math. But anyway, we're trying to fund our retirement. We're trying to figure out ways of being able to have a little bit more security, financial security in our lives, than
I don't want to eat cat food when I'm 70.
Yeah. I don't either. I don't want to be working at Walmart kicking people out or, doing all of that. So when I saw that, I think that's primarily the sentiment. That's why we can't have to, when we first started the show, the very first episode, I kept talking about the real fear that people are perceiving, the real insecurity in their lives. And that's what's driving crypto. In my opinion, it isn't of course, all the algorithms, all the math, all the computer generated tokens are part of it. But the psychological element cannot be overcome. It has to be addressed.
Well, in terms of stability, the core concept of crypto and Bitcoin is pretty much bulletproof, I would say. It just keeps it can't be if the concept fails itself, then it's a failure. But if it ever gets hacked, or if the mechanics of it ever fail, say Bitcoin, which is really the oldest crypto and not necessarily the most efficient. So if it does fail at some point, then the other cryptos will simply take over, because they've all been designed to improve upon flaws, or there's guys constantly trying to improve upon the algorithms and the system. So I think if Bitcoin does fail at that level, then the other cryptos will take over very quickly.
Well, you mentioned that, and
sorry.
you mentioned that, and we've got Ethereum, in which I've heard a lot of companies are building their technology on the Ethereum network, or the Ethereum platform. What is your knowledge about Ethereum?
I don't know much about Ethereum, to be honest. I can't add much to that.
Okay, because I know that there's a lot of coins that say they're based on the Ethereum network, or based on the Ethereum platform. Here on Wikipedia it says Ethereum is an open source public blockchain-based distributed computing platform and operating system featuring smart contract scripting functionality. It supports a modified version of Nakamoto consensus via transaction-based state transitions. Along with Bitcoin, Ethereum is considered to be one of the pioneer platforms in distributed ledger and blockchain technology. In popular disclosures, the term Ethereum is often used interchangeably with Ether to refer to the cryptocurrency that is generated on the Ethereum platform. And this was initial release is July 30th, 2015. Ethereum has moved up the chain to pretty much the second token here, and it's their market cap is $83 billion. Their price today is $860. 300 billion volume in the last 24 hours. Currently circulating 91 million tokens. So that
I think that we were talking about one of the companies that we were following is Mariah Token. I believe Mariah might in fact be on the Ethereum platform, but that being aside, Mariah is basically saying, or a company that or commodity-based companies or cryptos are basically saying that we have an actual physical product that we trade on. In other words, that their cryptocurrency is going to be predicated on an actual commodity. And Mariah is going to gain royalties from a gold mine development in Colorado. But I guess my question comes back to that. If you're going to have a commodity-based crypto, then it seems to me that you're going to have, or that, transgresses or it kind of puts aside the idea that you have this kind of independent, disconnected currency from all of the traditional currencies. If you're going to have that, and that all of a sudden that puts it into the realm of government oversight and markets, market rationalization. So, to me, that there's a lot of things that are flying back and forth around here in terms of the cryptos, and that's, I guess, one of the reasons, as a guy who's a little bit agnostic towards all this, I still have yet to find out, because we're talking about a relatively new currency and a relatively new product, and it doesn't have that kind of a history. long-term history of is either a currency or as a medium of exchange. So, or as an investment and a medium of exchange. So that's why I'm holding off. That's why I basically am saying, you got to give me more information before I can go ahead and make it. Hello?
Yep.
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, you're sounding a lot like a stockbroker or day trader. The guys that I've talked to who came up before 2008, they're absolutely, they want nothing to do with crypto because they don't understand it. And, their mantra is you have to understand the industry that you're getting into and be familiar with it. And they said, well, we don't know what the history is. We don't know how this animal behaves. We're not sure what it'll do under certain conditions and pressures. So we're just going to stay out of it for now.
And do you think that's causing public fear when they say things like that? And then the people that have been listening to them, they're going to come along with them and say, nope, this isn't real because this guy says it's not real.
Yeah, well, that depends where public places their faith, and I think cryptos are kind of steering away from traditional placements of faith, like government and banks. And so maybe that's part of why people go to crypto.
Unfortunately, you were part of not a debate, but a talk that Dylan and I were having prior to getting on the air. And we were talking about the currencies. We were talking about what makes a currency work, like the U.S. dollar. And it's primarily it's predicated on the fact that that somebody else has enough faith in its value that they'll take it. If you want to buy anything, you offer them dollars that you have a faith because of the long-term history of using it that it'll work. But if you actually take a look at the dollar, the value of the dollar, what it could buy back in 1905 compared to what it can buy now, it's just a fraction of what the actual value of the dollar, purchasing power of the dollar has fallen. That's what we were talking about when we were talking about movies as an example, a real-world example about how, when I was younger, for $100, I could go to a whole bunch of movies and movie and dinner dates. Now, if I lived in Orange County or a big city, $100 would probably not be enough for a dinner date, movie and a dinner date. And so the value or the purchasing power of the dollar has fallen. And so cryptos have got to be able to overcome that. They have to be able to be stable and hold their value in order to be, in my opinion, and this is only my opinion, a legitimate currency. Because we've talked about this several different times. A currency of a economy that's efficacious and that's strong doesn't have these tremendous gyrations like we're seeing with cryptos or even with the dollar. As we pointed out earlier, has value several different times, all through the last 40 years.
Yeah, could you imagine going to a movie theater with cryptocurrency and you walk up to the window and you're watching to see what the ticker is on the crypto and whatever coin you got, and you're judging when should I buy that ticket?
Yeah. So that's
Hold on, baby. Wait 5 more minutes before I get you that hot dog. I don't know if I can afford it right now.
And all of a sudden, you go and the people who are selling you the hot dog are looking at a screen to see the value of the crypto at that any moment and trying to calibrate the price to that. What is this? The Weimar Republic? This is back right after the World War I Germany, where they were just issuing Deutschmarks of all sorts, and within minutes the value of the currency would fall through the floor. So people would get their checks on a daily basis, go run to the bank, get whatever currency they could get out as quickly as they could, because they never knew how much the value of it would be by the end of the day.
Oh yeah.
So pardon me.
Yeah, that's what I see. I mean, you could imagine, like I said, walking into a store and having a look at your phone and seeing what you can afford, and you buy a loaf of bread and you pay 3 coins for it, and the other guy walking out say, "What? I just paid 85 coins for that."
Yeah, that's
give me a freaking refund.
And so, yeah, but then again, you take a look at the dollar, and the dollar itself, or what we use, and we talked about this before, it's not predicated on any real substantive value or substantive material. I mean, the dollar or the gold window closed in 72 when Richard Nixon said, no, we're not going to be issuing any more gold for any more fiat. So what, again, other than our faith and our perception that the dollar is worth something, do we have? And so, we're in this kind of netherworld with cryptos as well, because I think they're trying to find their way, in a sense. At least that's what I'm seeing. They're trying to figure out where they're going, and the SEC is doing that as well. They're trying to figure out how we can, potentially control all of this stuff, and that, in a way, like Dylan was saying, that would take away one of the basic premises of why a cryptocurrency should be invested, or the investment value of a crypto.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, if people still put their faith in governments, then they're more likely to go to, say, the dollar or some other currency. But if they no longer have as much faith in governments and banks, then that would steer them towards crypto, I would think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see that happening.
Well, yeah, but talking about faith in government, we were a couple of shows ago. We were talking about the Treasury Department. The U.S. Treasury Department came out and said we were going to pursue a weaker dollar policy, and ever since then, the dollar has been gaining strength. So, at some point, you have to sit there and say whatever they say doesn't matter. It's what actually occurs, and there's this disconnect between what the government has been telling me in terms of the Treasury Department and what I'm actually seeing is taking place with the dollar. So, like I said, that's one of the reasons I think that fueled all of this frenzy and the explosion in the price of cryptos was the fact that people are seeing the same thing that the three of us are seeing. A whole lot of things don't make any sense anymore.
Nope. It really doesn't, And that's kind of why we get guys like Dylan on this show, because I can't figure it out, and Charlie, you're a hell of a lot smarter than I am, and you can't figure it out. So it's great to have these voices of wisdom, and engulfing us with their knowledge, and we pretend for a minute that we understand it, and go, yeah, that sounds great.
But anyway, gentlemen, I'm going to have to be leaving in the next few minutes.
Okay.
But, by the way, Dylan has a more than a nodding acquaintance with Yermo, California, don't you, Dylan?
Really?
Yeah, I used to stop there during camping trips back in the old days.
Wow! Did you ever get to visit the Heine Winery when you were down there?
I don't remember that.
No,
it was probably before that.
It's amazing how people just bypass that. They don't even see the Heine Winery as they're cruising down the highway, and it is just a beautiful oasis out there at Yermo.
But Yermo is famous for something else, right, Dylan?
The original Del Taco.
Really?
Restaurant.
The first Del Taco.
Yeah.
Was it Del Taco or was it Noggles?
Huh. I'd like to say Del Taco, although now it's known as the Burger Den, apparently.
Yeah, I remember that when back in the day, whenever Noggles became, or Del Taco bought Noggles, but it was pretty much the same store. But yeah, as people are driving on their way to Vegas, they often stop at beautiful downtown Yermo, California, and bask in the glory and the spa-like atmosphere that it bestows upon its guests. As you know, one of our one and only sponsors, Heine Winery, made in beautiful downtown Yermo, California, and their slogan, as you always know, you only go around once in this life, so grab all the Heine you can get. Heine Winery and the beautiful pull top cans, available, pretty much anywhere you go in beautiful downtown Yermo, California.
Well, gentlemen, thank you. Hey, Dylan, thank you very much for being part of the program today, and I hope to get you back whenever possible.
Yep.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me, and anytime, sure.
Well, beautiful having you guys on the show today, and, it's, as always, we've had a wonderful time today, so enjoy your day. Charlie, Dylan, thank you for being on. For everyone here at the Crypto the Wonder Dog Show, have a wonderful day and a better tomorrow.